Let's get Covet started. I got up to chapter 4 last night. And you guys might want to buckle up, this might be a long one. Which is why I'm sitting on the floor today. And I'm actually trying something new this time. Since I own the Kindle version of it, I'm actually highlighting and annotating. I don't normally do that. Since, doing that to physical library books is kind of frowned upon. But anyway, let's start with the prologue. There was a prologue that had many sports ball analogies and metaphors. Now, I do not observe the sports ball, nor do I participate in sports ball culture, so I was thoroughly confused. But from what I could gather, there is a huge battle between angels and demons fighting for humanity, and now there's one final battle to determine the fate of all of humanity. I guess. Moving on. I knew the series crossed over with the Brotherhood series at some point, but I did not realize it was going to be in the first chapter of the first book of the series. Because in chapter 1, we are at Iron Mask, the club that Rev owns. Or did own. I'm pretty sure after he returned to living status, he still owns it. Anyway, that's where we're at. And at first, I was like, okay, maybe this is just a very common name she wants to use for clubs. I don't know. But the second POV we get is Marie-Therese, who was a girl that used to work at Zero Sum and now works at Iron Mask. Yeah, that Marie-Therese. We also learn in chapter 1 that it's been 4 months since Zero Sum exploded. That is the timeline we're working on right now. We are that close. But back to our first POV, we've got Jim. He's currently hanging out in Iron Mask, and he is former military, current construction worker. And he meets a girl at Iron Mask. You know where that goes. Of course, our second POV is Marie-Therese. She works at Iron Mask, used to work at Zero Sum. She is not happy with her life right now. But at least she's not dealing with her issues in a concerning manner. At least not that I've seen. The third POV we get in chapter 3 is a guy named Ben. He lives at the Commodore. You know, the same place that V and Rev both own penthouses? Yeah, that place. Yeah, that's pretty much what most of my Kindle highlights are so far, has been like, oh, you mean this place that person did something? Oh, you mean this place I also recognize from the previous series? Yeah, that's what it's going to be. But anyway, Vin is a very rich man who has earned his money through unknown means. It has mentioned it not being scrupulous, but has not specified how. Vin is building a mansion. And guess who works at the mansion's construction site? Jim. From our first POV. Vin happens to have a girlfriend he wants to turn wife named Davinia. Davinia, who is the same girl that Jim picked up at Iron Mask. You know, Jim, who works for Vin. Oh, the spider web of relationships is getting interesting. An interesting thing about things said about Davinia during, Spicy Chaos Fun Times. I have a feeling that Davinia is not wholly human. But I don't know if succubi exist in this world. We ended with chapter 4 last night, and in chapter 4, Vin and Davinia show up at Jim's worksite, or really it's Vin's mansion that he's building that Jim is working at. But anyway, everyone shows up at once. Jim and Davinia recognize each other. But after the recognition, Jim promptly has a Final Destination-style workplace accident. That makes his living status questionable. And that was just to chapter 4. This is already a lot.